is still talking to them.
Yeah. It's a small group play.
Hmm?
A small group play.
Mm,
Hannah is working on Tuesdays.
I know.
When the Bible Bible study started? When the Bible study started? How long ago? The Bible
How
study?
many years ago?
No, when the Bible study started? How long ago?
7:30.
When did they start? No, how long ago?
How many months ago?
Yeah.
When we first started the congregation. So it's 10 years, 11 years.
The
You
Bible
mean this
study?
study, you mean
We've always
Genesis?
had Bible study.
Yeah, the Bible study. I know the,
Yeah, 12 weeks ago,
12 weeks ago.
3 months ago.
Well,
yeah.
this one,
Yeah,
this Genesis,
yeah.
okay.
We started 12 weeks ago?
Yeah, we're in session 12 tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the Wednesday one is started.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
is that right, session 12?
Yeah.
Wednesday, yeah.
That's it started.
Oh, we're live.
You have three.
Yeah, Master Life
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
started.
12 divided by 4 is 3 months, 3 months ago.
I know, I just come.
Yeah, it's really- I'm still waking up from my nap at 2 p.m. this afternoon.
Wow. You were asleep down here?
I had a hard time, but eventually I did fall
Yes,
asleep.
no?
It's already 11 years,
let's keep it.
started
No, no,
here,
It's on.
11 years already?
Uh-huh. Yep.
This one?
We celebrated our 10th
Can you hear
last
me?
year.
Is the sound fine?
No.
No? No, no.
No.
Yeah, go now, it's fine.
How about now?
Yeah.
Sound check, sound check. No, sound check.
Do when it's
sound
by your mouth.
Sound check, sound check. Sound check, sound check. Sound check. Sound check, sound check.
Time fly. 11 years.
I know.
Where's the clicker? Where'd the clicker go?
The who?
The clicker. The slide clicker. There it is.
Genesis what?
Chapter 9. All right, welcome to our Tuesday night Bible study. Everyone out there in YouTube land. Tonight we are continuing in our study in Genesis, session 12. Tonight we'll be jumping into chapter 9. Some of you realize over these last few weeks we've spent a lot of time on the flood and
And the Nephilim?
yeah, Nephilim 3 weeks, and then so this must have been an important event for the Lord to keep us here. At least three chapters, and just on the flood alone.
Yep.
That to have been a big event with big significance as well. I think it's very hard for us to imagine what it must have been like for Noah getting out of the ark. Come to the realization this is a whole different world from a year ago. Completely different temperature, climate, landscape. He came from a land of plenty and lush, low mountains, maybe small mountains, spring-fed waters, incredible vegetation. Animals were tamed, was submissive to man, very predictable, no seasons. And then the flood. And now he's gone out of the ark, him and his wife and 3 sons and their daughters. And now they got to replenish. Think about this, replenish the entire earth. Yeah, it must have been, this has got to be, I would think, very difficult. Clearly Noah's a man of faith. He's mentioned in the Hall of Faith, I believe, in Hebrews, and also throughout the Old Testament, the Lord says in some places, even if Noah, Job, and someone intercedes, I won't do anything. I'll continue my judgment. So obviously Noah was highly esteemed in the eyes of the Lord. So again, it's a new beginning. I guess difficult for us to realize how revolutionary this beginning is. Now the dispensation of human conscience is over, and God is putting man under government. he is to govern himself. Now, we will see something of this in the covenant which God made with Noah. And let's keep in mind that when God made the covenant with Noah, he made it with you and me in mind as well. And that includes all mankind. So this is the land he would have landed, the area he would have landed in, somewhere on the base of these two mountains. These are the mountains in Ararat. They're bordering Armenia. Obviously, a boat his size would not have landed on top because it would have slid down. I think that's just basic physics. It would have slid down, and I would imagine there was probably more snow. I don't know about snow. If the mountains, if the waters receded, I don't think there would have been snow there. But there could have been glaciers. Who knows? I don't know. And I don't know. Maybe the snow came after the flood. Yeah, the ark would have definitely slid from the top of those mountains. So most likely it's at the base there somewhere. There's pretty good evidence that what Ron White discovered in the late 70s, early 80s is probably the remains of Noah's Ark. But as we've discussed this before, even if it is the remains of Noah's Ark, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference in the lives of people. I don't think seeing that's going to bring people to their knees.
No.
I really don't. I think it's a testament. We clearly see a lot of ancient writings from other historians about, I guess it's part of the Silk Road, or there was a route that went through there. People were taking wood out of the ark and making out of the pitch, carving little amulets to ward off evil spirits. And some other historians talk about how locals would take the wood out of the ark to build their own structures. So anyway, this is the area Ararat, very beautiful, very lush. What's interesting, there's not a whole lot of trees.
Did you say Iraq?
No. That is Ararat, the area of Ararat.
Okay.
I'll show you the map later. I haven't really looked into what kind of trees are in this area here. It says the dove, probably a pigeon, a homing pigeon most likely, but it could have been a dove, brought back an olive, branch or a leaf?
Leaf.
Yeah, leaf. Okay, don't let anyone ever tell you it's a branch. It's a leaf, according to the Bible. I don't know if there's olive trees in this area here. I haven't looked that up. There is something very interesting here, though. When Ron Wyatt came there, they noticed that there were huge groves of wild grapes growing in the countryside, which is very interesting. I don't hear of too many places where wild grapes grow. Yeah. So where is the mountains of Ararat? Right there. So that right there is this mountain. And this other one, I believe, is either this one or I think it's this. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Yeah, that's this one. And I think this one here might be the other one. I don't think he landed on this side. I think he landed on this side. But not 100% sure. So something very interesting here is, again, this is what I told you, they call it Dura Pinar site in 2007. This is where there's good evidence that this here is the remains of Noah's Ark. Good evidence. I'm not saying it's overwhelming, but there is a museum in Tennessee, northern part. There's an old gas station that was turned into a museum where Ron White put all the artifacts found in that site, rivets and pieces of animal dung, petrified dung they went into the ground. They believe these are the remains of the deck timbers that went up. This actually matches, if you look at old boats that break, they fold out the hull, and this kind of matches pretty well. Now it looks kind of broken, but I think it's the angle it's taken in. Again, in the area they find these here, the drogue stones, that's Ron White. The picture there on the top left, the man with the white beard, that's Ron White. And they found, I think, 9 of these stones in this area here. So again, these are what are called drogue stones I talked about, and you can see the mountains in the background, right? So you would think that maybe Noah cut the lines, and these things fell. These are pretty big stones. Again, there's 9 of them all littered in this area here. And again, I told you what drogue stones are used for, is to keep the boat perpendicular to waves and the wind. So waves will never hit it broadside, which is ingenious. And they use these today, and even in the olden days of the Sea of Galilee, they found little ones that the fishermen used. Again, the Turkish government even looked into this, and they believe, again, they're Islamic, and Islam, the Quran does believe Noah and the whole event that happened in the ark. So, they admitted, they also came to the conclusion that looks to be Noah's Ark, and they turned it into a national park there. So this is the structure there. It happens to be almost 500 feet in length. Now it used to be apparently higher up with a mud flow. I think an earthquake and water and mud, it slid down over the years, but it couldn't have been much higher than this because that's real steep there, right? So it had to have been no higher than that, and it would slid down. Naysayers are going to say, oh no, this is what forms when the land mud flows around a rock, and it creates, if you ever look at water going around a river, it creates this thing like this, right? It goes around. But the problem is here, both ends are plain. You don't see a big round area where it's flowing, so that kind of throws that out the window. But again, it's not. I don't think it's going to change the mind of people whether it is or not the ark. But the ark is a real thing. It's somewhere. I think there's got to be remains. So anyway, that's that. Now what's interesting here is it was in this area somewhere here in the mountains of Ararat. So anywhere up here where the ark would have landed. And there's something interesting that I think like 20 years ago, just threw the archaeologists turned the world 180. They discovered down here something called Göbekli Tepe. And it totally rewrote their idea of the origins of man. Word secular history or secular archaeology tells us, where did man originate from? Africa. And they migrated north. This totally throws it the other way around. It shows that, no, it looks like it started here and it populated there. We'll talk about that next week in a little more detail because it's really interesting. There's things found there that are found around the world. Similar things. I won't tell you what they are, but which seems like this was an originating point. And if you look at it, if you were to look at this closely in Google Maps, you could see how over time the people could have migrated down. They were going to obviously migrate down to the Mesopotamian Valley because what's one reason to move down here?
Warmer climate.
Well, warmer climate. What else? What do we have here? The Euphrates.
Fertile.
It's fertile. Yeah. What do you call it?
Fertile.
Yeah, very fertile. Isn't they call it Fertile Crescent or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's very rich there. So it would make sense for them to want to move here. And anyway, we'll look at that. So let's see what the book of Jasher has to say on chapter 9. This might take a while, but we'll read it. So again, we've talked about the book of Jasher. I'm not inspired, but it is quoted by a lot of the rabbis and I'm not sure what it's called, the rabbis, not testimony, but what do they call their sayings?
Talmud.
The Talmud, their sayings of the rabbis.
I think it's quoted in the New Testament as well.
Oh, it's quoted in the New Testament and also twice in the Old Testament. Yeah, it says, as it is written in the book of Jasher, it'll say that. So clearly it's some kind of a historical book, just like it says the annals of the king of David or the king of this, there was writings, right, of the kings. All right, so it says, and he said to them, who's that? Noah and his family, be fruitful and fill all the earth, become strong and increase abundantly in the earth and multiply therein. And these are the names of the sons of Noah: Japheth, Ham, Shem, and the children were born to them after the flood, for they had taken wives before the flood. And that's all there is on chapter 9. All right, so we'll read chapter 9. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground and all the fish of the sea, except the great white shark. Into your hand they are all delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. But ye shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. And for your life blood I will require reckoning. From every beast I will require it, and from man. From his fellow man I will require reckoning for the life of man. And quote, whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For God made man in his own image. And you be fruitful and multiply. Again, that's that command. Increase greatly on the earth and multiply in it. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, behold, I establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and the beasts of the earth with you, as many as came out of the ark. It is for every beast of the earth. I establish my covenant with you that never again shall all flesh be cut off by waters of flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I have sent my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the water shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. Now Noah's descendants, the sons of Noah who went forth from the ark, were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the people of the whole earth were dispersed. Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers. He also said, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died.
Now, if he was drunk and sleeping, how did he know which son uncovered him?
We'll get to that. All right, so verse 1. The word replenish is meaningful here because we know that there was a civilization before the flood. And now there is to be a civilization after the flood. Now we see this in Genesis, I think 1, or 1, 2, I think it's on 1, when Adam was told to replenish the earth. Again, we looked at that word because replenish sounds like there was something before and you're refilling it. In this case, the word replenish literally means that, because there was a population of people and animals and living things, and now it was up to them to replenish the earth. We did look at Genesis 1, and I know we talked about this because I think it uses the word replenish, which gives the impression that there was something before the creation of the world. But again, we came to the conclusion that's not what it meant. All right, so Adam was told to replenish the earth. We assume there had been living creatures. I don't know what to call them before Adam. Again, this is what we talked about. They apparently were living creatures of God's creation. Anything I could say beyond that would be just pure speculation. And this is regards to the word replenish that we see in Genesis chapter 1. All right, so what's the first thing that God tells Noah? Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth. There is to be a propagation of the race. Notice that he's saying, is he saying to congregate in one area? But no, he says to what? Spread out, which is relevant to when we get to chapter 10 or 11. I think chapter 11. Let's see. Yeah, he tells them replenish the earth. There's to be propagation of the race, obviously. Remember that God gave this command under special circumstances. Now today we're in a time of population explosion, and I would say mainly in non-Western countries. However, Noah stood in a unique position. He and his family were the only folk around. Can you imagine driving down the freeway going to work in the morning and there are cars in front of you, cars to your right, to the left, in front and behind, all of them honking? Yeah, you call it a traffic jam. Then about a year later, you find yourself all alone in the freeway. No need for obeying traffic lights because you're the only one on this road. This was to be quite an unusual experience for us, would it not be? Well, this would have to have been quite an experience for Noah in his day. So not only is it a brave new world, but also a brave new climate. Some places in the world probably still have huge glaciers going down as far south as Minnesota. I'm not sure what it would have been like up in that area. I don't think there's any evidence of large glaciers. There are now seasons. You're gonna have winter, spring, summer, and fall, something that Noah, prior to the flood, had never experienced. Now Noah and his family will most likely have to learn how to keep warm on many nights in the cooler months. This is where all the timber in the ark may have been very useful for not only constructing their homes, but we see that when we're ready. It doesn't say there was a home. Where was he sleeping? In the tent, yeah. But for many other uses, including to stay warm and maybe to fuel the hearth in which they cooked. All right, verse 2. Another part of the covenant is man's protection and rulership over the animal world. I take that before this time, the relationship between humans and animals was different. Apparently, man had not been a meat eater before, except for certain writings depicting the Nephilim as cannibals. But out of that contaminated other people. But there are, I think, in the book of the Giants, it says that they were cannibals and were eating people. So anyway, all animals may have been tamed, and one's not inclined to eat an animal that is a pet, right? You wouldn't eat your precious Fluffy. Remember that the animals came to Noah when the flood was impending. They seemed to have no fear of him at all. And we saw in the book of Jasher, again, take it for what it is. What did the animals do before they went in? So they had to bow down before Noah, before they went in. Again, take it for what it is. Now today the animals will fear and dread man. However, man is responsible for the animal world. Now we can say man's treatment of the animal world is a brutal story. Man has attempted to exterminate many of the animals, especially those little itsy bitsy spiders.
Yeah.
Right? Man would have slaughtered all the whales around the Hawaiian Islands for the money they could get if the government had not intervened. Same thing in Africa, right? We have game preserves. One time the buffalo were in great herds of the West. It says as far as I could see, it was just a carpet of brown, of buffalo. But they were almost exterminated by man, the settlers. Today, we must have places of refuge to protect animals and bird life, as well as aquatic life. And it is well that we do that. Now, the animals of Africa are being exterminated, and not only there. Man's a brutal creature when they are either greedy for money or just plain hungry. That is why we need government to protect the animals from man. Interesting that now government won't protect man from man, but they'll protect animals from man.
Yeah, you can kill babies in the womb, just don't kill a bald eagle or a seal.
Yeah.
Well, happy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so verse 3. We should read the verses, right? Verse 3 is, every moving thing that lives shall be food for you, as I gave the green plants, I give you everything. Now God gives man a new provision for food. Before the flood, God gave man the green earth, the plant life to eat. Now he tells Noah that he's able to eat animal life. Now, do you think he told him this right as the animals were getting out of the ark, or sometime later? I agree. Yeah, because there were only 2 of each kind. Out of 2 each kind, they had to populate the earth. So I agree. I think a lot of time has passed here. It's not just like right away. So now he tells Noah that he's able to eat animal life. Now there are diet faddists, and often this type of thing becomes a part of a person's religion. And this is McGee. I once met a lady who was a vegetarian as part of her religion, and she was quite excited when I told her that these antediluvians were all vegetarians. She thought this reinforced her argument that we should all be vegetarians, and she had her assistant take it down in her notes. However, I think she must have erased it later because I told her this, quote, I wouldn't make too much of it if I were you, because you must remember that it was a bunch of vegetarians who were destroyed in the flood. If diet had in any way improved them at that time, they would have not been destroyed. We see here that God now permits man to eat flesh. However, what does God prohibit?
Blood.
Yeah, blood. Verse 4, but ye shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. We see this again being said in Leviticus. The blood should be drained out. The blood speaks of life, right? I mean, we can get all the markers we need from blood, right? That's why when they draw blood, they can get almost every health marker out of you.
And
Just from the
genetic
blood.
marker, and
Yeah.
the life of the thing is in the blood.
Exactly.
Leviticus 17:11.
Draining it indicated that the animal should be killed in a merciful way, rather than prolonging its suffering, and that it must be really dead. God says that when you are going to eat animals, you are to make sure that you don't eat them with their blood. It should be drained out, ensuring that the animal is killed in a merciful manner. All right, I'm going to look at Guzik's notes here. See if there's anything that was missed. Thinking in regards to now that you can eat animals, let's see. Okay, this is in regards to now eating animals. Perhaps this was because the earth was now less productive agriculturally after the flood, considering the ecological changes mentioned in Genesis in verses 1 and 3, and also in Genesis previous in 8 verse 22. Therefore God gave man permission to eat meat. Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, apparently before the flood, man had a different relationship with animals. We talked about that. God did not put fear in the animals because before the flood, man did not look to them as food. And in some apocryphal readings, it says even before they sinned, the animals had the same language as Adam and Eve. And somewhere it says, which is the language of creation? It says Hebrew, one of those books.
Hebrew, that's what I would think, or
Yeah,
Aramaic.
I agree, yeah. And after they sinned, they all had their own language. And we know animals can talk, because what did that donkey do with Balaam? He talked in his language.
Yeah,
But it
but
can be
that
done.
was under the power of
Yeah, I know.
It's not like all the donkeys can talk,
Yeah,
because if they could, we're in trouble.
yeah.
They
But
do
it's-
now.
It leaves a possibility that, they could have in paradise before the fall.
But we've also seen that some animals are able to learn to speak, not just parrots. I mean,
Parrots.
gorillas have been taught, sign language and stuff. Chimps have been taught sign language, so there is a way to communicate.
Does that mean naturally that animals just understand to a certain extent?
Well, I wonder what the
No.
language is gonna be like.
Animals speak language, like you
How do
can.
you do?
They
Yeah,
speak
you
their
can-
own language to each other,
Yeah.
obviously.
No, I mean, like if a horse has been trained by a German, for example, like the commands would be in German.
Mm-hmm.
So if you give it commands in English, it
They don't answer. Yeah.
it doesn't recognize it.
Yeah,
But it's
we
not
got-
recognizing
yeah,
a word, it's recognizing a
the
sound.
sound,
And it's the same thing you do with dogs.
right.
I can
Yeah.
train the dog in German or English, and it will understand the sound, but it doesn't understand the word. It just knows when I give it
Right.
that word, it's supposed to do X. So it's
Well,
not,
no.
it's not like communicating like with us, like we can talk to each other.
I mean, we bought a puppy that whined and whined and whined and cried the whole way back from the airport. And when we unloaded him and everything, and I stroked him and I kind of talked to him in German, and all of a sudden he stopped. And then we realized he had a German, he came up from a German breeding place, and
They spoke German to the dogs all the
Okay.
time, so
Yeah.
he was comforted by German speaking as opposed to the rest of us who are frightened by the harshness of German. Meinst du das oder sagst du das nur so?
All right, and one more thing, a couple of weeks ago,
I am funny.
we read from Jasher that each animal was lamenting in its own language, right,
Yeah.
as the waters and the storms are raging around them. But anyway, we'll move off of that. All right, so again, we get back to the importance of blood in the Bible, shown by how often the word is used. It's used 424 times in 357 separate verses. This is again in the New King James Version. Now, the respect for blood isn't based on mysticism or superstition, but because blood represents life of the being, whether animal or human. When blood is poured out, life is poured out. Blood was a sign of mercy for Israel at the first Passover, Exodus 12:13. Blood sealed God's covenant with Israel, Exodus 24, verse 8. Blood sanctified the altar, Exodus 29:12. Blood set aside the priest, Exodus 29:20. Blood made atonement for God's people, Exodus 30, verse 10. Blood sealed the new covenant, Matthew 26, verse 28. Blood justifies believers, Romans 5:9. Blood brings redemption, Ephesians chapter 1, verse 7. Blood brings peace with God, Colossians 1:20. Blood cleanses believers, Hebrews 9:14, and 1 John 1:7. If you walk in the light, as he is in the light, you have fellowship one with another, and the blood of Jesus Christ, his Son, cleanses us from all sin. See, I ended up at a Baptist missionary school.
That sounds like a Christian song, I don't know.
Yeah, so we always sang these songs, and I remember it. It's funny, we talk about that, why Jews sing verses, because it's easier to remember. Like, that's what I can remember from.
I can remember songs I sang in high school plays that I was in.
So anyway, all right, you heard my voice, that's why you know I don't sing during service.
I do think it's interesting though that he says, that every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. That means everything. He says, I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. That means you can eat ants and roaches and turn up, you can eat
Well,
everything.
ants have a lot of, I think they're good for you, eating. Anyway,
But
we'll
when we
digress.
get to Leviticus, it's all gonna change
That's
for the,
right,
for
yeah.
the Jews.
Yeah. All right, so blood gives entrance to God's holy place, Hebrews 10:19. Blood sanctifies the Christian, Hebrews 13, verse 12. Blood enables believers to overcome Hasatan, Revelation 12:11. All right, verses 5-7. And for your lifeblood I will require reckoning from every beast I will require it, and from man, from his fellow man I will require reckoning for the life of man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God was made in his own image. And we see that right in the laws. It says if an animal gores and kills a human, what are you to do to that animal?
Kill it.
And if a human does likewise, kill it. So verse 5, this is an interesting statement, but not so meaningful to those of us who do not live in the frontier. However, there are certain animals, even we encounter, such as skunks and opossums, which may be rabid or disease-carrying rodents that pose a real danger to man. Now, the fifth and the last statement of the New Covenant is the most amazing. This is verse 6. Here God lays down the principle for government and protection of man. He gives the government the right of capital punishment.
Correct.
We have seen that in this new covenant which God has given, man is to propagate the race. He's given a new provision for food and a prohibition against eating of blood. Now we see that he is given the principle of government, which is the basis of capital punishment. So interesting, when we say he gives a prohibition against eating of blood, what do all these cults and satanic,
Blood
and the Aztecs and the Mayans and
and the vampires.
the Incas were doing? They were, yep,
Blood sacrifice.
Bloodsuckers.
Yep, and that's what Planned Parenthood is, just another form of
Bloodsucker.
that.
Yep.
All right, may I say to you that it is amazing how the attitude of the present generation has gotten away from the Bible. Now, this was McGee, he wrote this probably in the 80s. I mean, it's even worse now. You see, we do not have a Bible-oriented population anymore. It's totally ignorant of the Word of God. and I would say in many churches as well.
Mhm.
All of those that have all those different flags out in front. As a result, we find the judges, lawyers, and politicians wanting to get rid of capital punishment. We see that all the time. And they have succeeded to a large extent. Eventually, they will get rid of it because defiance against the word of God is only increasing. Now, with this, we are seeing a large uptick in crime. Some are heinous crimes, and the perps keep on getting let go back into society only to commit more crimes.
They had a guy yesterday, literally, he was out of jail for an hour and a half before he murdered somebody.
Yeah.
An hour and a half.
Look, this is, I'm not, what is it, it's not condoning, what's the opposite of condoning, where you don't, we're elevating it, or what's the word?
Condemning?
No, I'm not condemning,
Are you approving or disapproving?
I'm not approving it, but I'm saying, my sister lived in Saudi Arabia in the 80s, and she said they had statues with gold layer on them, because if anyone stole or did anything public, they would put out their hand and
Right,
cut
yeah.
it. Same with death, but again, that's, I will not go there.
They still publicly stone people.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway, so, may I say to you that it's amazing how the attitude of the present generation is, okay, we read that. And capital punishment is scriptural and is the basis of government. The government has a right to take the life of someone who has done so premeditated on another. Now, why does it have that right? Well, it seems quite obvious that God has instituted this in order to preserve human life, right? Because if not, then it'd be a free-for-all. Our lives are no longer safe on the streets and often not in our homes either. Although it is clear our current local leaders deny this, and one reason is their attitude towards capital punishment. When the criminal knows that if he takes a life, his life is going to be sacrificed, then he might think twice before he takes a life. Also, there's an idea today about getting a gun control law. May I say, the problem is not the gun in the hand, but the heart inside of the man.
Yep.
Whoso sheddeth, again, Old English, King James 16:11, whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, is a law that we had better get back on our statute books and get rid of this bleeding heart mentality. Human government is the area onto which all mankind has moved, Gentiles included. So whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God he made he man. Again, this is Old English. Is the basis for human government. Saying it again. It has not changed as far as governments of the world are concerned. All right, verse 7. And you, be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly on the earth, and multiply. So again, we're going to get to this next week when we get to Tower of Babel, because what happens in the Tower of Babel? What do they do?
They try to reach God.
But not only that, are they spreading?
Yes.
No,
No,
they're
not
spreading, they're
spreading. No,
congregating,
excuse
yeah.
me. There's
I don't really, there's a
tower.
lot of pack on that one as well.
Yeah.
But that's for next week or 2 weeks from now. So verse 7, this is a repetition of God's instructions of verse 1, so he's saying it again, so it must be really important. Notice it says to, in essence, spread about, and not remain in one place. So I wonder what implications this could have not too many chapters from now, and again, that's when we get to the Towers of Babel. Let's see, we just read that, we're done. Okay, in its original languages, the Bible makes a distinction between killing and murder. Not all killing is murder, because there are cases where there is just cause for killing, self-defense, capital punishment with due process of law, and killing in a just war. There are other instances where killing is accidental. This is killing but not murder. And the Leviticus law addresses those, right, Rabbi?
Sanctuary cities, they have
Yes,
cities
that's
of
right,
refuge.
yeah, sanctuary cities, yeah. The Bible also consistently teaches that the punishment of the guilty is the role of human government. We see this in Romans chapter 13, verses 1 through 4. In order to restrain man's depravity. It also teaches that the guilt of unpunished murder defiles the land, right?
Yep.
Numbers chapter 35, verses 31 to 34. And what did Martin Luther say on this? He said, God establishes government and gives it the sword to hold wantonness in check, lest violence and other sins proceed without limits. All right, we'll look at verses 8 through 11. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, Behold, I establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you. Oops. Then God said to Noah and his sons, yeah, I have to read 9, it's long, and end with it as well. Behold, I establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you, as many as came out of the ark, it is for every beast of the earth. All right, so what does it mean by establish my covenant? This covenant was made with mankind. That's you and your descendants after you. He's talking to Noah. And even with animals, every living creature that is with you, that he had on the ark.
That means he'll never again flood all of mankind and the animals and everything else.
Mm-hmm. God promised he would never again destroy all the flood or cover the earth with a flood. And this was a repetition and clarification of the promise God made last week in Genesis 8, verses 21 and 22. But how is he going to destroy the earth in the future? If not water, with what?
Fire.
Fire. It cheered my heart when it's thinking this matter. Okay, let's see. We're going to quote Spurgeon. It cheered my heart when thinking this matter over to remember that although I depend upon covenant faithfulness, I am not alone in the dependence, for every living thing upon the face of the earth lives by virtue of the immutable covenant of God. Covenant engagements preserve the world from flood. Were it not for that covenant, the tops of the mountains might be covered tomorrow. All right, what does maybe you have to say on verses 8 and 9? Pretty simple. Verses 8 and 9 apply to the entire human race. He doesn't have a whole lot to say, obviously. Verse 10, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you, as many as came out of the ark, it is for every beast of the earth. So all of God's creatures are included in this covenant, including that itsy bitsy spider that's crawling up the rabbi's leg. Isaiah predicts that someday the lion and the lamb will once again do what?
Lie down together.
Yeah, they will eat of what? The same?
It's the lion and the calf.
The lion and the calf, yeah. That's right, the lion and the calf. What are they going to eat? Grass, yeah. Hay, stubble. In Paul's epistle, so what does that tell you about in the millennial kingdom? That hay will be what? Very what?
Common.
Well, not only common, but what? Probably very nutritious, I'm guessing. The land it'll produce very healthy hay and grasses. Not like today. It's my guess. It's conjecture on my part.
I hope they got Wagyu.
No, we're vegetarians in the millennial kingdom, Rabbi.
I'm gonna massage
I do
you.
grass.
How for you?
I'm not sure. I still think we're going to have beef.
All right, in Paul's epistle to the Romans, I think we do, because it says people will be fishing on, I think, off the side of the river that comes out of Jerusalem to the Dead Sea. I think.
Yeah, you're not catching cows in the river like
Yeah,
that.
but if you can eat fish, you can eat animals, so that's
Only
my
you
point.
would have behind the
They're not catching them and putting them in fish tanks. I think they're catching them to eat them. But anyway, I think it's Ezekiel, we'd have to read that. Okay, all right, so we know that the calf and the lamb will lie down together, and he won't hurt him, and the little kid will stick his hand in the hole of an asp, and he won't get bitten. So,
Yep.
in Paul's epistle to the Romans, he mentions that the whole creation is groaning and travailing in pain in this present age. And we see that, right? We see that in earthquakes and things decaying and famines. And I say to you that God has made this covenant with Noah and with all his creatures until the time his kingdom comes on earth, the millennial kingdom. So it is for all of Noah's descendants and every living creature that is with you. How about verse 11? I establish my covenant with you that this should, we read that. This is God's promise. His purpose is that he will not again destroy the earth with a flood. The next time his judgment on earth will be by fire. We find that in 2 Peter chapter 3. Now in the next few verses we see a picture of the covenant, and in my opinion, a real spiritual meaning of the covenant. It is sort of a sacrament, if you please, the thing which makes it that is a visible sign to which are annexed promises. So again, it says, never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. God did not believe he did something wrong or too harsh in the flood. He had to do the flood because he had to preserve the human race. I truly believe that if God had not brought the flood, eventually all of humanity would have been corrupted and unredeemable. Just like he says in the future, unless those days were shortened, no man would survive. I think that also would have applied to the pre-flood world if he didn't intervene. Sorry, but okay. Let's see. There shall never be a flood to destroy the God. Did not believe he did something wrong. He made a promise because he acted in the post-flood world to guarantee the exact evil conditions of the pre-flood world would never be precisely duplicated. Precisely, but I believe they will be duplicated in some manner. These things included the imprisonment of the angels who sinned with human women, Jude 1:6, and shortening the lifespan of man. However, when things again become similar to the days of Noah, right? Matthew, verse 24, verse 7, God will destroy the earth, but by fire and not by flood. Again, we see that in 2 Peter chapter 3, the first 7 verses. All right, so we will read the sign of the covenant, verses 12 through 17. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant that I make between you, me and you, and every living creature that is with you, for all future generations. I have set my bow in the cloud. Rabbi, can you look at that word bow and tell me what it means?
I was just doing that. It actually translates it as bow, but it actually means like a curve.
Okay.
I think it's talking about the rainbow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's talking about a rainbow,
what's
but
it, what else? What are the other
it
meanings?
says bow of me,
Okay.
and it just is, it's translated, I mean,
So, like a bow, can you look up what a bow is in Hebrew, like an arch, what is
it's
a
just
bow?
translated as bow.
But what's a bow in Hebrew for archery or for war? Not a spear, but a...
All right.
But let me look, I'll keep on reading. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant. How many of you look at rainbows and go, oh, this is God's, every time, this is God's covenant? No, it's, usually we forget. We're like, oh, what a beautiful rainbow. Hopefully there's some pot of gold on the other side. But no, we usually don't think this. I will remember.
It's literally the same word.
Same word, okay. Okay, we'll get to that.
So an archery bow and the word bow here is
Okay.
translated, it's the same.
We'll
But
get to
again, that might be the difference between modern Hebrew and
Yeah,
biblical
okay.
Hebrew, but it looks the same.
In mine says rainbow either also.
Yeah, the Hebrew doesn't say rainbow, it just
Oh,
says
when you
bow.
read it, okay.
A bow in the cloud, but I think it's given that it's a rainbow, because
Yeah.
that's the meaning.
All right, so again, when I bring clouds over the earth and the bow is seen in the
Sky
clouds,
bow.
I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the water shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. All right, so before we continue, remember what we read earlier? Let's see. God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, who's them?
The sons and their wives.
Okay, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Was this a projection voice of heaven? Or do you think this was maybe a theophany where he appeared to them and told them this face to face? Again, we don't know. Just curious, what do you think? How did this come about? This first verse?
I feel like he spoke to them.
But how?
much
Like
more,
like in the cloud and the voice from heaven, like the Father does? when
no,
he appears?
like, I think face to face more.
I
than
have to agree
often,
with that, yeah.
Because we see like a lot in the New Testament, God was much more, face to face with a lot of his prophets and the people he
Yeah.
talked to, but then it started to dwindle after the tower.
I have to agree with you on that. I believe it was a face-to-face interaction. but again, it doesn't state, but just the way it's phrased, that's how I would interpret it, and how that occurred. Again, like you said, he's a personal God, he's a relation, the best way to relate to someone is to talk to them face to face.
The only time that we had to do a lot of the, like, I hesitate to say, this word, but doing like, almost like building like a ziggurat kind of thing where him coming down was when we started
Okay.
doing more and more.
Well, we'll get to that 2 chapters from now.
This is also interesting. It says, if we interpret God's bow, since it's the same word, as a weapon rather than a rainbow.
Oh, Rabbi, don't steal my thunder.
Oh, sorry.
I will not permit you to do that.
Yes.
All right,
You
so,
kept asking, man.
huh?
You kept asking.
No,
I
I
thought you
want
wanted
to make
to-
sure that, because that's where I was gonna go with it.
Okay, well, you go, and if you don't get to the same place, then I'll.
Then you fill in, yeah, please. All right, verses 12, 13, we read that. No, we didn't.
No.
Verses 12, and God said, this is a sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I have sent my bow in the cloud, it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. All right, so the rainbow requires what? Small droplets of water in the air. Could not have formed in the pre-flood world, where the high vapor canopy precluded rain. After the flood, the very fact that rainfall is not possible makes a worldwide rainstorm possible. And the rainbow, or the bow in the cloud, thereby becomes a perpetual reminder of God's grace, even in judgment. This makes the rainbow more or less of a sacrament, that is, a token of a covenant. Now, interesting, the natural rainbow has 7 prominent colors. Did I put it in there? What? I didn't put it in there.
Paul, you're such a bad
Gee,
person.
no wonder no one shows up. Okay. Interesting, the natural rainbow has 7 prominent colors. Debbie, your assignment is tell me how many colors are in the mafia alphabet soup flag. Huh? You look it up online. You look at the pictures. Just bring up the picture, huh? Who said it? Someone said it.
Walt said it.
How many? 9?
I said 9, I don't know if I'm right.
No, you said, what did you say?
No,
6.
I say 6.
Who said 6?
I say
Bolivia.
6.
Yeah, I thought, who?
Bolivia.
Me.
Oh, you had 6, yeah, it's actually 6.
She's so small, he can't see
I
it.
know.
No,
It's a tiny country.
mouse.
But you can hear me, you see?
It's almost as long as a little mouse brain, you know, she can barely hear. All right, interesting, the natural rainbow has 7 prominent colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Notice how the Alpha of the Mafia depraved bow only has 6 colors. Now, what does 7 represent?
Perfection.
Perfection. What does 6 represent?
Non-perfection.
Yeah. So I think this is related to that number 666 in Revelation. By this I mean that the Lord on high would not allow Satan to use 7 colors on the pride flags. I believe this is spiritual. He said, you're not gonna do it. He limited him to only 6, and the perfect number, not like 7, which is the number of completeness. This is verse 12, 13. Yeah, we're not there yet. So, this impressive covenant was made not only between God and humanity, but God made the promise to all creation, including the animals and the earth itself. And when it says, I set my bow in the cloud, because the blankets of water vapors was released from the flood and the water cycle of the earth changed after the flood, this may have been the first occurrence of what we call a rainbow. God used the rainbow as a sign to Noah and all generations that he would be faithful to his covenant.
Where in the Bible, though, does it say God's rainbow has 7 colors?
Oh, no, this is just
Scientifically
scientific,
speaking.
yeah.
Scientifically speaking, there are 7
Yeah.
primary colors, and the
Colors, yeah.
rainbow has all the primary
Yeah,
colors.
no, I didn't say it's from the Bible. I hope I
Okay.
didn't.
No, I was just wondering if you had a reference that,
No.
that a rainbow is from the scriptures.
I don't think it ever says rainbow. I think it just says bow, right?
Just
I
as
think
bow.
it's just, yeah,
Bow is bow.
And we'll get to that. If I don't do it, certainly jump right in, because it's very interesting. It shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Every rainbow is a reminder of the faithfulness of God and every one of his promises. God declared that his covenant of peace with mankind is just as sure as his covenant with Noah and all generations. let's see what Isaiah 54:9-10 says. For this is like the waters of Noah to me, for as I have sworn that the waters of Noah would no longer cover the earth, so I have sworn that I would not be angry with you, nor rebuke you. He's talking, I guess, to the Israel. For the mountains shall depart and the hills shall be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from you, nor shall my covenant of peace be removed, says the Lord, who has mercy on you. So clearly it's talking to the Israelites. Verses 14-16. Yeah, we read that. 16. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. Notice that God says, I will look upon it. Not that we are, and I will remember. God did not say that you would see it. He said that he would see it. He said he would look upon it and it would be an everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. That ought to be an encouragement whenever you look at a rainbow.
But maybe from God's side of heaven, it's always a rainbow there.
Yeah.
That's why he always, whenever he looks, he
Well,
sees
there's
a
probably a
rainbow.
rainbow somewhere on the earth all the time, right?
Well, but I mean, on his side of heaven,
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
down, it
yeah.
may be that there's always a
Well, doesn't it
rainbow.
talk about the rainbow, something, there's that song?
Yeah, in the book of Revelation,
Thank
it talks
you.
about it, like
Yeah.
one of the throne, like in the,
Yeah,
yeah.
thanks. Actually, if you could find it and read it, that'd be great. And we'll push on, but if you find it, let's read from that, because that is true. So he says, I will look on it and remember the everlasting covenant. The other mention of a rainbow in the Bible are set, I'll tell you, Revelation 4:3, Wes.
Okay.
In the Bible are set in the context of God's enthroned glory. How about someone go to Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 28, and Wes, you go to Revelation 4:3. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 28. Ezekiel.
I worry about you.
They worry about me too.
I think we have to find the Bible book
Ezekiel
song.
again.
Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 28.
Give me that, I can't find it.
I found the first one, like the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud on the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness all around. Such was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And then when I saw it, I fell on my face, and I heard the voice of one speaking.
Okay, and Revelation 4:3. The one sitting on the throne was as brilliant as gemstones, like jasper and carnelian, and the glow of an emerald circled his throne like a rainbow.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so God set a rainbow around his throne. It is impressive that he's set so close to himself, a reminder of his promise to man. So God does not only look at the rainbow on earth and remember the covenant, he also looks at the rainbow that surrounds his throne. Now God is committed to remaining faithful to his covenant. On the same principle, the believer glories in the sovereignty of God because he knows God's sovereignty is on his side. It means no good purpose of God related to the believer will ever be left undone. God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant that I have established with me and all flesh that is on the earth. So this is God's covenant, not merely with Noah, but with all flesh that is upon the earth. Now let me say again that the rainbow could be called a sacrament because a sacrament is a visible sign to which are annexed certain promises. The Passover feast, the brazen serpent, Gideon's fleece, and in our day, baptism and the Lord's Supper are such signs. Now, Dr. Johann Peter Lang once made the statement, quote, God's eye of grace and our eye of faith meet in the sacraments. Now, that is what happens when man looks at the rainbow. Faith lays hold of the promise attached to the sign. You see that merit is on what the sign speaks of. There is no faith in the promise, and there is no assurance in the sign. The word and the sign go together. You see, God makes a promise and attaches a sign to it. Now the rainbow is God's answer to Noah's altar. It is as if God says, I'll remember and I'll look upon it. A friend of mine told me, not me, but this is ye, a friend of mine told me about a time he was traveling by place across the country and going over a storm. Oh, by plane, across the country and going over a storm. The plane was up where the sun was shining, and all of a sudden, he saw a rainbow that went all the way around a complete circle. I guess that is the way God always sees it. Now, Rabbi,
Well, that's
can you
interesting.
expand on this? The bow of the clouds.
Yeah,
What you
so
want to say?
just from the Greek though, the Greek word for bow is iris, which is also
Round.
a round thing at your eye.
Okay.
But the classical term meaning rainbow and eye color or flower in the ancient classical Greek.
Yeah.
In modern Greek, it's a totally different word, upavnio toso, which literally is the modern phrase for heavenly bow.
Okay.
So,
But now in regards to the bow and weapon in that verse.
yeah, that is an interesting thing because it says that if it's used as a bow and archer, then that means that God is no longer going to attack the world and kill the living people on it because he has set his bow, and so he will not shoot arrows and that at the world anymore.
But which way is the bow pointed now?
Well, the bow is just in the clouds. It
But
doesn't,
it's pointed which, I mean,
I don't know which way it's pointed. It doesn't say that in the Hebrew, so I
no,
can only
but
tell
is
you
it
that
pointed up or down? Towards man or towards heaven?
it doesn't say.
Oh, we see bows. When we see a bow, which way is it pointed?
Usually, the bow is pointed up.
Up, yeah. So
Right.
someone said this is no longer, before it was God's bow judgment on man. The future judgment will be right Messiah's
Yeah,
crucified.
but the bow
Judgment will
goes
be
up
on
and
God.
down.
Yeah, but it
No, but
goes
the
up.
part that you pull, the part that you pull and is rounded where the arrow's going.
Yeah, so if the
You go
bow is
backwards,
this way, which way is the bow not pointed towards who?
Yeah.
Towards heaven, towards him.
Right.
So you can make the case that it's a judgment now towards God.
Maybe the significant thing is that the bow is attached at the beginning, so it's like a circle, but the shape is different, it's
Right.
connected.
Yeah, see, the way I see it is that before it was God, the flood was God's judgment pointing at man down. Now the future judgment is what? God will get the arrow, right? Messiah.
But they don't say it's a curve or anything like that, they call it a bow, so it's still
Mhm.
somehow still attached. So what is that?
Rabbi, you're gonna have to answer that one.
I'm not sure there's an answer for it.
All right. All right, how about Noah and his sons, right? After all, all of humanity will descend from these three. It's interesting that Noah will have no more offspring after this. It's just his three sons. Yeah, and he lives a long time after that, but doesn't have any other children, at least not that any are mentioned. All right, Noah and his sons, we will find something that is very disappointing in the remainder of this chapter. The question arises, when man came out of the ark after the flood and all the sinners were dead, does that mean that there was no more sin on the earth? Okay, let me reread that.
Only for a minute or so.
Huh? Only for a minute, yeah. So when man came out of the ark after the flood and all the sinners were dead, does that mean that there was no more sin on the earth? We're gonna look at that, verse 18, 19. Now the sons of Noah who went forth from the ark were, I always think of the Three Stooges. One of them was named Shem. Larry, Curly, and Moe. Shem, one of them was Shem. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. Know how it, right off the bat, puts that in there. Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the people of Noah, people of the whole earth, were dispersed. All right, why is Ham's son Canaan mentioned here? Well, there's possibly two reasons. One reason we'll see in a moment. Another reason is that when Moses wrote this record, the people of Israel were traveling to the land of Canaan. And it was encouraging for them to have this information regarding God's judgment upon the people of Canaan. Now, we know that Noah's three sons emerged from the catastrophe of the flood into a new world. And from these three sons of Noah came their nations as we know them. The descendants of these three sons are listed in the table of nations provided in Genesis 10. We'll look at that next week. All right, so
Including Ashkenaz.
Ashkenaz, yeah, that's right. Now Noah began to be a farmer, and he planted the vineyard. Then he drank of the wine and was drunk, and became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of the father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. All right, so it says Noah began to be a farmer. Making this way into the new world after the flood, Noah began to provide for himself and his family. He probably planted many things, among them a vineyard. So when he says Noah began to be a farmer, do you think it's implying that he began to be a farmer after flood, or his way of life before the flood was not
It
farming?
would have to be after the flood.
Okay. So he drank of the wine and was drunk. Now this is the first mention of drunkenness in the Bible. Some think it was only after the flood that man made or was able to make intoxicating drink. You may have noticed that there is no mention of drunkenness prior to the flood, but we see plenty of it afterwards. Now there's some theories, and the ice canopy theory would possibly make it so that the amount of sunlight getting through would not allow for the fermentation of fruits. So what happened to the drink made of grapes was due to Noah.
You haven't made alcohol, usually you want to keep the yeast away from the sun.
Okay. And I agree. I think if anyone would have taught the pre-antediluvian people, it would have been the Watchers, teaching them to get drunk, because you get drunk, you do stupid things. So I think they would have figured out a way to do it, like you said. All right, Noah's own sinful and shameful actions show the foolishness of drunkenness. Well, what does Proverbs say about wine? Wine is a mocker. Hooch is a brawler. No, we'll give hooch, especially the Russian hooch. Wine is a mocker, strong drink is a brawler, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has contentions? Who has complaints? Who has wounds without cause? Who has redness of eyes? Those who linger long at the wine, those who go in search of mixed wine. Do not look on the wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it swirls around smoothly. At the last it bites like a serpent, it stings like a viper. Your eyes will see strange things, and your heart will utter perverse things. Proverbs, yeah, anyway. I know,
Why are
there's
you
a lot.
looking at her?
I know, there's a lot of disappointed people here on that one. But you know, look at
Your eyes
The
aren't
book-
good, you're good.
the book of Ruth. What did Boaz do after celebrating the harvest of it?
He got drunk.
He got drunk, and you know, she was at his feet, so, you know, it's.
So you're saying he did something foolish in
No,
marrying
no,
her?
I'm not saying, well, I'm saying what King Solomon says. But, yeah, I don't know how to answer that. Was he celebrating? Was he foolish? Was he, how do you interpret?
You can
his
celebrate,
actions?
you can celebrate without getting drunk.
Drunk, yes, yeah. You can get tipsy, but not drunk, okay. All right, it also shows the foolishness of those who claim God's desires to make people drunk in the Spirit, as if the Holy Spirit is a bartender.
Yeah, right.
When Ephesians says, do not be drunk with wine, in which is dissipation, but be filled with the Spirit, it makes a contrast of the work of the Spirit with the effects of drunkenness.
Well, you'll do stupid things with the Holy Spirit too, but it'll be in a godly way.
Yeah, like standing on your head in front of
So
the
does
gas
Pat.
station, in
Yeah.
front of the vending machine.
Yeah.
You want to tell that story?
There was a lady who every day woke up and said, Lord, what can I do for you today? And he told her to go to a certain gas station mini mart and go into the front of the sodas and do a handstand. And she's like, I can't be hearing him correctly. But she starts driving towards the gas station and he's very clear, go in front of the sodas and do a handstand. So she gets to the store, there's nobody in the store but the owner. She goes over to the sodas and she does a handstand. And then she stands back up and starts to walk out, and the owner stopped her. He's like, what are you doing? Why did you do that? And she said, I'm sorry, but God told me to do that. And it turned out that that man who owned that gas station was a Muslim, he's now a Christian, but he had said that he was gonna kill himself that day unless somebody came and did a handstand in front of the sodas. And when this woman was obedient to God, as dumb as that sounded to her, she was obedient, and it brought this man, not only did it save his life, but it brought him into faith for eternal life.
Yeah, so again, the filling with the Holy Spirit has the exact opposite of drunkenness. He is a stimulant, and he influences every aspect of our being to better and more perfect performance.
And
All
he's
right,
not gonna have you uncover your nakedness. He's not gonna have you become naked,
Like David dancing around, yep,
like Noah.
oh no, yeah. And he became uncovered in his tent, okay,
It was like he was in his own tent.
no, wait, okay, now this is where it gets real interesting, so you guys gotta listen up to this. There's two angles to this. It is possible that Noah was abused sexually by one of his sons or relatives. Again, we don't know how many years have gone by here. The phrase became uncovered and the idea of nakedness are sometimes associated with sexual conduct. Leviticus chapter 18, verses 6 through 20. I think somebody go read Leviticus 18, I think 8. It talks about this specifically.
Leviticus 18:8.
Yeah, maybe we could read the whole thing, but I think 8 is the one. Leviticus 18:8 kind of speaks to this.
Says the nakedness of your father's wife you shall not uncover, it is your father's nakedness.
Yeah, so the other thought is that Ham had sexual intercourse with his mother, Noah's wife.
Yeah.
This is generally the thought behind Leviticus 18:8. Now, what was one of the many repulsive practices of the Canaanites? That was one of them.
Incest.
Yeah. Again, we don't know. How do we know if this is the case?
Well, Moab too. I mean, Moab literally means
Yeah.
from the
Right.
father. That was
No,
incestuous.
a lot of, like the Egyptians, like the pharaohs, were very inbred.
Yeah, that's right. And so are some of the Habsburg and all that.
Yep, a lot
But
of them
anyway-
German kings.
Yeah, that's why they're barbarians.
Yeah,
not
I think,
barbarians.
I think Prince Albert,
Bad mouth
Queen Victoria, okay, Prince Albert and Queen Victoria were first cousins,
Okay.
and so his,
So that's why hemophilia runs in the
yeah.
Habsburg families.
And that's why Prince Charles, if you ever look at his fingers, he's got Vienna sausage fingers. I mean, it's like you just want to bite into them and, you know, they look delicious. It really is weird. They're very strange.
Yeah, that's what's weird. Not you thinking that.
Oh my
That's
God.
what's
Well,
weird.
see,
Things you find
See,
out
you're thinking
about.
about grazing again?
no,
I'm not
growing
gonna
up,
show my little sausage fingers.
growing up, I used to like the Vienna sausage fingers. My mom would always pack them to my lunch. You know, come on, who's at it? You're supposed to warm them up, right?
Didn't get any better.
But I would eat them.
No,
Oh, Jimmy Dean sausages?
No.
No, Vienna sausages in the can.
In the can.
But see, it
He was
wasn't.
on the farm, he didn't eat canned stuff.
But it wasn't until I learned to read, you know, in high school, where I looked at the ingredients and it said,
Ew.
made of mechanically separated chicken parts. So I knew that was like, after they're done cleaning the chicken, you know, they get the broom and throw everything and then that becomes spotted meat. So that's when I stopped eating it.
it is delicious.
What's that?
It is delicious.
Do you kiss your husband when he eats that stuff?
I
No.
don't eat it now.
All right, so we're looking at, okay, so again, this is one view where this may have happened.
And that's how he knew.
But hold on, so this is repulsive but not terribly surprising. Many people who get drunk become victims of abuse, sexual and otherwise. Now, a large majority of the men and women involved in date rape situations were drinking or taking drugs just before the attack. According to some statistics, half of all rapes include alcohol. So again, saw the nakedness of his father. Others think Ham's only sin here was in seeing Noah drunk and uncovered state, and that he made fun of him, mocking him as a father and as a man of God. Now, the book of Jasher has nothing to say on this. The book of Jubilees also makes the same statement, implying Ham only saw his father naked and told his two brothers. Because, you know, some can say, well, how do we know what happened? Because you can make that case that, based on Leviticus 18, that seeing the nakedness of his father was seeing his wife, his mother. But again, I think if this really was the case, one of these other two apocryphal books would have made it clear. So the fact that Jasher doesn't even mention it probably means that, you know,
It says there's no doubt wrong to broadcast his father's nakedness rather than to immediately cover it, perhaps revealing a general disrespect for his father.
That's what, I have to agree with that view, not with the rape. And
Some point out that it
Yeah.
is Noah's first intoxicated and now hungover.
I still wanna know how drunk and asleep did he know that it was his youngest son?
Well, I'd like to know how,
Probably because
long,
the older son's told on him.
how
Well, you
come,
probably, like, as you're like sleeping it off, you're kind of in a stupor, and then you slowly.
And how do you know this, Wes? I'm asking for a
yeah, this is
friend.
one where we just all better stay quiet.
I'm talking about a friend.
No, but
Also,
whose name happens to be Wes as well, yeah.
also,
No, think about,
another question I had,
listen,
Was-
Jacob,
the sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Japheth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So how did Ham, where does it say that Ham was the youngest? Don't you usually
does it say he was the youngest?
line your children with, you know,
You put him
In
in
birth
chronological
order?
order, birth
Right.
order.
Wait, does it say he was the youngest?
well, it said,
I think it
when it says when Noah awoke, he knew that his youngest son had done to him.
Yeah, like the slide, it was in the book of Jasher. Jasher also, when you had a.
You say young, okay, I didn't know that,
It
okay.
said his
Okay,
youngest
so he's
son,
the young, okay.
which doesn't make sense.
Well, that's okay. It doesn't have to always.
Yes, it does.
All right, so again, we said,
There are rules,
all right, we have 17
In
minutes, so we
Deutsch.
still have
yeah,
a little bit to cover here.
there are rules.
All right, so again, my personal view is that this was just, he was disrespectful. There was no sex involved, no incest, nothing, even though the Canaanites are, we see what
They're known
happens.
for a bunch of stuff.
But
like that.
yeah, I don't think it was. Okay, so literally the ancient Hebrew says that Ham told with delight what he saw in his father's tent. He determined to mock his father and was undermining his authority as a man of God. All right, verses 24 through 27.
When Noah awoke.
Yeah, another one is how did Jacob know that he was sleeping with Leah, the oldest one, and not with Rachel, whom he wanted to get married with initially on his wedding night?
How did he not know?
Yeah, how did he not know?
It was dark.
And she was very
don't
I
know.
young.
mean, they all must smell like sheep then or something, because,
I've been with the same woman 50 years. I don't remember.
all right, anyway. So Noah awoke from his wine, and he knew that his younger son had done to him. Then he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants, he shall be to his brethren." And he said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant." Now, regarding to verse 29, I would have you note that God said, "Cursed be Canaan." He does not put the curse on Ham. Now, a question that keeps arising is this: is a curse of Ham upon the dark races? Well, it certainly is not. To think otherwise is completely absurd. The scriptures do not teach it. The coloration of the skin, the pigment that is in the epidermis of the human family, is there because sunlight from the outside, not because of sin from within. So there is no curse placed upon Ham. The curse was upon Canaan, his son. Now, we do not know in what way Canaan was involved in this incident. We are only given the bare record here. But we recognize that Canaan is mentioned for a very definite purpose. This teaching, unfortunately, has promulgated the secular church world in the past, and unfortunately is a stain on the origin of this lie. God never mentions this nor hints at it. After all, the first two great civilizations were Hamitic. Both the Babylonian and the Egyptian civilizations were from Ham's descendants.
Well, this says they think Noah may have cursed Ham's sons with this in mind, that the sins of the fathers go down to the third and fourth generations. Others suggest that Noah may have recognized tendencies towards sexual perversion in Canaan implied by Ham's behavior.
Yep.
They point out evidence of Canaanite fertility cults, amulets portraying exaggerated genitals, and other perversions for which the Canaanites were later judged.
All right, now another question arises: why did God give us a record of the sin of Noah? Well, if man had written Genesis upon his own inspiration, he probably would have done two things. Number one, this covered up Noah's sin to make him look like a hero. Or two, would have made Noah is more sordid than made Noah is what occurred with Noah more sordid than it really was. But God recorded it for his own purposes. First of all, this record may have been put to encourage the children of Israel in entering the land of Canaan during the time of Moses and Joshua, to let them know that God had pronounced a curse upon Canaan. He had pronounced his judgment upon the race. All you have to do is read the rest of the Old Testament and secular history to discover the fulfillment of this judgment. The Canaanites have pretty much disappeared. Now, God may have had a further reason for recording this incident of Noah's sin. In Romans 15:4, what does it say? Someone read it.
Romans 15:4.
Romans 15:4.
For whatever was written in earlier times was written for our instruction, so that through endurance and the encouragement of the scriptures, we might have hope and overflow of confidence in his promises.
Okay. So we're scored to let you know something of the weakness of the flesh. Yeshua stated the spirit is willing, but what?
The flesh is weak.
Weak, yeah. There is no use of trying to make excuses for Noah. The bare fact is Noah got drunk. All right, how did he know his younger son had done it? This strongly suggests that whatever happened to Noah, it was more than one of his sons or grandsons seeing his nudity. This explains the strength of the curse. And I have to agree with that statement. I think this occurred many generations afterwards. You know, by then they had children, and Ham's children were.
And it could have been that Cain was a pervert, and his children and grandchildren were perverts, and so that's why they were.
Yeah.
That's why in the commentary it says that there was a lot of sexual deviance, because probably after this or because of this, his kids all became deviants.
Yeah. And so what does it tell you how quickly humans? I mean, we see this right after Genesis 3, chapter 4. They're already killing each other and
Yeah.
building all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And, I mean, how quickly things go down. It seems strange that if Ham sinned against Noah, that Canaan, Ham's son, was cursed. Perhaps Canaan was also involved in this sin against Noah in a way not mentioned in the text. Perhaps the strongest punishment against Ham was for Noah to prophetically reveal the destiny of his son Canaan. And we see that this can be done, right? What did Jacob and Esau, right? He gave the blessing to who?
Jacob.
But what's the blessing? You know,
That
I guess
meant
it's
that-
serious. It's something God takes seriously.
No, but he also, I mean, yes, he gave him the blessing, but it also means it comes with property and all kinds of other things, servants.
Yeah, didn't the first son get a double portion?
Normally,
Yeah.
the first son would get a double portion.
All right, so we can trust God was not punishing the son Canaan for the sin of the father Ham. This goes against the heart and justice of God. We see this in Ezekiel chapter 18, verses 2 and 3. However, through Noah's prophecy, God told Ham what would happen to his son. May Canaan be a servant. In the earlier generation, some prejudiced people regarded the sons of Cain. Okay, we read that.
Yeah.
All right, verses 28 and 29. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. So all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Someone go to Genesis chapter 5, towards the end there. Tells you how long he lived. Also in the book of Jasher, it said he lived 950 years. The end of chapter 5, Genesis 5.
How long, who lived?
Noah. Maybe it doesn't say it. Maybe it's not stated there.
He was
Okay, it's not
500,
stated, okay. Sorry.
he was 500 years old.
When that occurred, yeah, but you're right, it doesn't talk about it. Yeah. All right, so Noah lived after the flood 350 years. Now, how much do you think could occur in 350 years?
Just all the days of
just
Noah, 950 years.
50 years, that's a long time. So he lived, after the flood, he lived another 350 years.
So that was 350 years worth of them multiplying in the earth.
Yeah, and
But it also says that Noah was 500 when he fathered them. Does that mean that they were triplets?
no. Yeah. Good question. So all the days of Noah were 950 years. Noah was a man of great triumph and of weakness. His godliness is remembered in the New Testament, marking him as a man of faith. We see this in Hebrews 11:7. This is the Hall of Fame. And according to 2 Peter 2:5, he was a preacher of righteousness. So we have 8 minutes left. So we've seen this before. Look at our lifespans. Clearly something happens after the flood. That even though Noah was born before the flood, he lived a total of 950 years. But again, 600 of those years were pre-flood. How about his sons? Shem, they live
600.
600. Our facts, let's see. Oh, it doesn't say the other sons. It doesn't say Ham or Japheth. Only the ones who are the interesting. Okay.
This is because it's only the life
Life,
of the
yeah.
Jews.
So look at this one
Who
here.
came from Shem.
Here's another one. Look at the number of years they lived. So it's clearly, you see the number of years goes down significantly. But look at Noah. Noah lived long enough to see.
No, don't use that.
Right. let me use this one. I just won't pull the trigger. Look, he lived, his life overspanned who? Well, that's Shem, Noah. Look at this line here. Where does this line cross?
All the way to Terah and Abraham.
Abraham. So Noah was still around when Abraham was born and was a young lad.
That's how Abraham learned to tie knots, from the sailor Uncle Noah. And that's how he bound Isaac.
No, but once we get to, I mean, that's how many years have gone by between that. Just think about how quickly they repopulated the earth. By then they had the the Chaldees, and they had, we'll see this.
But Noah was the one who knew Adam and Abraham.
Correct. Yeah, again, as we get to the book of Jasher, it's going to say that Abraham actually Abram at the time, goes to learn, maybe not from Noah, but from Shem. He goes up to learn the ways of the Lord from Shem. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but that's what we'll see when we get to that. So, yeah, very interesting. Again, we've seen this before. Clearly, the lifespans go down significantly after the flood. Something happened. Why? Was it a curse that God placed on man, or was it just our environment that, we don't live as long? I don't know. All right, that concludes chapter 9.
All right.
So I gave you 5 minutes to
Thank you.
tell us what's up on Saturday.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
He feels unloved, so we have to make sure.
Wait, say it again.
He feels unloved.
No, before that.
Oh, thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Gracias, Paul.
All right. I'd say it in Spanish, but I don't know. So,
What you do?
Sit in German, sit in German.
feeling dunk.
Feeling dunk.
Sounds like Dunkin' Donuts.
Everything is harsh in German. So anyway, Saturday we are going to have a video. Instead of doing the martyrs, we're going to do the impoverished side of the church and show you what's happening with some of the donations that you guys have donated for a hospital. So we have a video about that where they're thanking you publicly for your donations and what they're doing with them.
We have a plaque or something on the hospital?
I don't think so.
No, they do that.
Yeah, sometimes.
We don't want,
Well,
we don't want
We don't
that.
ask for any of that stuff.
We don't want that.
Walter
We don't
got
want
lucky, he
that.
didn't have
That's
any
probably
martyrs.
more US and British.
Well, Walter can do martyrs next month, that's fine. And my sermon is gonna be
Next
on,
month or next week?
next week, no, next month, we do it once a month. And then my sermon is gonna be, Romans 2:17 through the end, all the way to 3:8. Because, that's the peril of the Jews and the punishment and all that kind of stuff, so we'll look at all that. And then,
So bring all your Jewish friends for sure.
the peril and punishment of the Jews. Yeah, But it's actually interesting stuff. I actually find this stuff interesting. And then, we have, next week is, second Shabbat, so we don't,
Right.
yeah, so nothing happening with
Right.
that. All right, any questions? All right, then we're gonna pray and let you guys eat more food. I see there's still lots of food over there. Heavenly Father, thank you for these who are studying so hard, Father, to see themselves approved, to conform to the image of your Son, to be more like you, Father, to not take the bait of Satan, and to be the backbone of this congregation, Lord. We thank you for their diligence. We thank you for the time they're willing to put in to study your word. And we thank you, Lord, for the salvation that we have through your Son's sacrifice on the cross. So for all of this, Father, the people of God said,
Amen.
Amen. All right, we're going to turn off the cameras. Thank you, Tiger.
Hold that tiger, hold that tiger.